3-1 win at home against Forest today. Huge, puts us back in the top 4. Let's talk to Brian first up. Brian, mate, how are you feeling over there?
Relieved. But it's good to see you guys, and big up to everyone in the chat. Good to see you, Barnaby. Amir Achi, it's always a pleasure to see you. And before we get started, just like you said, rest in peace, Joe Kinnear. My dad used to tell me stories about him. Obviously, a big name in Tottenham Hotspur's history, and condolences to his family.
Top man. So you said you were relieved, Brian. Take us back to it. It was a good start, wasn't it? First 15 minutes, but we then, as happens quite regularly at the moment at Spurs, we kind of lost our way. It doesn't seem like we're able to put together a consistent 90 minutes.
It's not even that, but what I thought as well, like West Ham, we took the early goal. I think West Ham, we scored a lot earlier. But going for top 4, I thought, right, now you put your foot on the accelerator and start putting these games to bed, ready to for the onslaught we have coming on. And like you said, after going ahead, we just looked a shell of ourselves, didn't we? I think the biggest thing for me is it's highlighting just how, for me, how vital it is as a necessity that the most important player we bring in the summer is an elite number 6 that is there to mop up. Should the wingers be inverted, should our defence play that high line, we have to have a Paulinho or someone of that kind of nature, number 6 there to support the midfield, because it's worrying how open we could be. And you've got to remember, this was Nottingham Forest. If that was the Filth or Manchester City or Liverpool, teams like that will exploit these weaknesses over and over again. So the first half was very, very concerning.
Absolutely. And maybe it is, before you even mentioned him, I was thinking, could it possibly even be Paulinho? We saw that Fulham nearly let him go to Bayern Munich last summer. Obviously, he hasn't signed a new contract since then, so the fee will be less, you'd think, or maybe similar to what they were offering if you think about the English club to English club tax. Is he someone you'd have top of the list?
For me, obviously, there's Nana at Everton and there's a couple other in Europe that's been mentioned. But for me, he is the one I would want. But I think what will happen with the club is, obviously, we have a way of not paying that amount of money for people at 28, 29, whatever. But I'm on the way that if this player will make a difference to the team and solve that issue, it needs to be done. Look at Robin Van Persie when he went to United. At 29, 30, they wanted to win the league. What they went and do? They went out and spent the money. All right, we're talking a lot less than what Paulinho would take to get out of Fulham, but they knew they needed a tip-top striker to get the job done. And Man U found the money, and the rest is history. But he is the one, I would say. But I don't see it happening solely because of his age, not the value.
I just want to ask one more question, then I'll let Mir go in. Do you envisage Pierre-Emile Højbjerg starting at St James's Park next week?
So do you know what? And I mentioned this on the reaction I did for our channel. You know those things you see on social media where people put like different colour bottles or whatever. You've got to try and match the right bottles with the right colour, and they'll say you've got one right. Then you start mixing the bottles about, and that's what's happening with our midfield right now. It's literally a conundrum, and it's showing how exposed we are, isn't it? I mean, forget the first game against Brentford. The next 9, where it was Basuma, Sarr, Maddison. We were purring, we were flying, and it looked the complete midfield. There's just something not clicking in that midfield right now, is there? We're just trying to find the right combination. And Højbjerg certainly made a difference, but I think he has a much bigger impact when he starts compared to, when he comes off the bench to when he starts. But he did, put it this way, he did his chances no harm, and if he can perform like that, apart from near the end, then I would start him. In all honesty, I would.
And who would you partner there in the midfield? Because we saw Bentancur come on for Sarr. We know Sarr's been fantastic a lot of the season, but Bentancur really came on and changed that midfield. Who would you play alongside Højbjerg?
Them two look good together, Amir, don't they? Even last season, when them two were together, before Bentancur got his big injury at Leicester, them two looked perfect. There was no qualms with them being in the midfield. Do you know what it is with Sarr? I'm trying to work out if it's still his back injury that's niggling him, or let's face it, guys, he's in his first proper full season of playing week in, week out, non-stop. Exactly, has this finally? Which, you know what? If it has, he's been magnificent for pretty much a majority of the season. He's a young kid. They are going to have this. So I don't know if it's a case of both, or it's still his back, or the games are catching up with him. But if it was Bentancur and Højbjerg, I wouldn't put it this way. If it against Newcastle, if that's what it is, I wouldn't be throwing my toys out the Prem.
Yeah.
It would be remiss of us not to ask you your thoughts on the two screaming goals that hit the roof of the net today. So tell us how you felt about those Van der Ven and Porro goals.
Listen, for me, Mickey Van der Ven is the best signing of the entire transfer window across the Premier League. I absolutely idolise that guy, and didn't know he had that in his locker. And that was, as soon as it left his foot, was an absolute screamer. But Pedro Porro, who's got a hammer of a right foot, as soon as that ball bounced, you knew exactly where. That was an absolute humdinger. It was a screamer. And you know what I love about Porro? It's not just his overall gameplay and everything that he does. It's his celebrations, it's his emotions, his reactions. Not only is he just understands what it is to be a Spurs player. He's adored by the fans, and rightfully so. I started the season never want to see him at right back, and my God, did I get that wrong. And I've been saying that after the United game. He's outstanding. Both brilliant goals. But I tell you what, we were lucky. We bring the pressure on at the end. We bring the trouble on ourselves, don't we?
We do. We do. It's always the case. It's always the case, Brian. But this time we managed to get out of jail. We got the 3 points.
Yep.
And we, the Spurs do go marching on up to St. James's Park. Just before we let you go, Brian, I'd like to know your thoughts on the Newcastle game. Can we go up there and bring back the 3 points?
Well, all I can say is every time I hear that name and that fixture, it's like someone's just walked across my grave, because I literally have flashbacks to what happened. Listen, Newcastle are decimated with injuries. Newcastle, if the Geordie faithful are up for it, it's always going to be a hard game, no matter what their injuries.
Always tough.
It's a nightmare of a fixture. And you know what? Again, the Premier League making the loyal and incredible 12th man trek up to Newcastle for a 12th, I almost said 7:30, which it is my time, 12:30 kickoff. It's a hard fixture. All I hope is we don't concede early, because if we concede early, then I fear. But we have to move on. And listen, with that win, top four is in our hands now. Only we can muck it up. And let's just hope we go to Newcastle and right the wrongs, the major wrong of last season.
Let's not go back to that one, Daigle.
I was just going to say, even if we concede early, surely we won't concede 5 early.
Surely not.
Yeah,
surely
I don't.
not.
Yeah, that I don't think will happen. That for sure. I think that's an anomaly. I can never say that.
An anomaly.
Yeah,
anomaly.
Thank you. I could have had 100 more guesses, and I wouldn't have got that right. Thank you for saving me there. Yeah, let's just hope we right the wrongs. It's a tough place to go to, but listen. Right now, what we do know, the games are coming thick and fast. Right now, if we look at it, I don't want to hear... Listen, the fixture list hasn't been kind to us in the way they've been rearranged, but I don't want to hear that we've been tired, we're knackered, this ain't fair. We've had all season of 1 game a week. We got 2 weeks before the Arsenal game. Yeah. We should be raring to go for the excuse 100%. Of being tired or whatever, 100%. Or the game's thick and fast. It don't wash with me. We've had all season to prepare. The long run is coming. Hopefully we're in Europe, where back-to-back games are going to be back and regular. This is a moment now where we need to stand up and be counted. And if you remember last time it was something like this, was when we had to play Arsenal and Chelsea back-to-back. And Danny Rose scored that goal, foul destroyed Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then we went to Man City, and Crouch got that goal, and the rest is history. So hopefully we can do that and rise to the challenge, but we'll have to wait and see. You never know with Tottenham, but we can only hope.
Come on.
I don't know what you heard there, Amir, but I heard from Brian that he thinks Timo Werner is going to destroy all of those teams single-handedly.
Easily.
Barnaby, you know what it is with him? When we signed him, I was a huge fan, and I was like, well done, I think that's an inspired signing. If we play a low block, or against a low block, should I say, he can't do what he's best at and expose everyone with his pace. He got away a few times. Obviously, he got won't be classed as an assist because it's for an own goal. Yeah. But the amount of times he gets into good positions, and then his final ball, it's hit and miss. He did that second half one, went right across the goal, which was an exceptional cross, and no one's there. And when there are people there, he hits the first man. He's got to work on that. But if people play a high line, he can do so much damage. He's just got to work on that final ball.
Yeah, Roy Keane. We just saw an interview with Roy Keane, and he said, whatever you say about him and his final delivery in terms of shooting not being great, he said he does affect games, and that's what I'd say as well. I'd say he does definitely affect games. Anyway, Brian, thanks so much for calling, mate. Enjoy the rest of your day. 3 important points. Roll on to St James's.